when you're talking about quantum processors, um, I don't really, I don't know a lot about it, but Frags has been doing some research in preparation for this. If we're talking computers, I'm not your man. Hey, you're gonna learn some stuff then. I promise you, you will learn some stuff. Um, and then we're gonna be talking about some miscellaneous items that are that just like blow my mind that I really want to like just get out there and just share with you guys because it's absolutely crazy. So without further ado, let's talk to the Frags. Hey, Frags.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, brother.
Grab a scotch, sit down, put down your hair, and let's get going.
Do I need to take my ponytail out?
I mean, if you want to.
You said let it
That's
down.
up to you. That's a proverbial let your hair down.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's not a literal. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
cool.
get comfy cozy and talk about some things.
Oh yeah, girl. Let's do it. I'm looking for a good playlist.
Okay.
Ooh, trance. That sounds neat, but there's only 16 songs. Future bass. Oh, dude, future bass.
All about that bass.
Oh. No trouble. You're not 21 yet? That's okay. Oh, you can't grab any scotch. You're right. Let's talk about the Mandela effect. Maybe that... Hey, Emily, we'll talk about that some other time.
That could be a good topic for next time.
Yeah, we should do that sometime. All right, Frags. So we're talking about quantum processors.
Yep.
If you don't know, it's okay. I'm curious, because like quantum theory obviously is different. Right?
Kind of. Yeah, kind of. It's interconnected in the way that... Okay, so basically it's quantum processors are more intermingled with quantum physics than quantum theory.
Okay.
So when I go through the concept of like what a quantum processor is, it's going to be a lot of physics at the front end. So it's going to be real like dry and kind of, but then once we get through it, we'll figure out the stuff that actually you can do with it, and that's the fun part.
Okay.
But you have to know like how it works
Mm-hmm.
to really understand why it can do the things it can do and what the limitations are.
Right.
Because the way we think of a processor right now is very cemented, I guess. Like it's
Mechanical.
It's part of our culture and everything we see. It's all linear, so this is all almost theoretical, but it's theory put into action.
Okay.
So if everybody's ready,
what's up, Limp and Oblivion? How's it going?
not a conspiracy. It's real.
Yeah.
There's companies out there making these things.
Quantum,
and yep. And so when we think of a regular processor, each core has like millions or thousands of little transistors, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they work in binary, whether they're on or off, 0 or 1. And the transistors are, I didn't know this until I started looking, 500 times smaller than a red blood cell.
Is the processor node?
Yeah, each bit is what they're called, is 500 times smaller than a red blood cell.
That is insane.
And so your gaming computer has all these bits on them, thousands of millions or whatever of bits, and they're all crammed into that little chip.
Yeah.
And the way that it processes information is a current, whether it be light or electricity or whatever it uses, because there's different types of processors that use different things, but a current is used to pass through the bit to turn it on or off.
This is what a processor looks like. I'm showing them what it looks like in case they don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Looks like that.
It's about this big.
Yeah. And all the fancy stuff is on the gold side.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got all these little transistors that are so tiny And there's what's called a logic gate that goes in between them that, like, well, if all of these certain ones are on or off or whatever combination, it
What's going on,
means
TGP? How's it
this.
going, buddy?
Like, if I type out a keystroke,
Mm-hmm.
then there's probably going to be 15 different ones and zeros that make that one keystroke,
Mm-hmm.
or 20 or however it is. And then it hits a logic gate and it puts it onto your screen. So that's basically how, in a nutshell, how a regular one works.
Yeah.
So
Ones and O's.
yeah, quantum processors use what's called a qubit. When
Okay.
they are measured and put through almost a filter, they'll be a 1 or a 0 as well.
Okay.
But the way to think about this, and so I watched a TED Talk one time about a quantum processor that started playing. They did it to play a game with people
Okay.
based on probabilities. So you would flip a coin in the game, and with a regular processor, like you didn't really get to choose like what it landed on.
Mm-hmm.
It would just, you would flip a coin, and then it was blind. You didn't see what it was,
Mm-hmm.
and you would guess whether it was heads or tails.
Okay.
And obviously your chances of being right are 50-50.
Right.
And there's different like sections of the game, like it'd be multiple flips or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Well, that got me thinking. The best way I can tell you to conceptualize how a quantum processor works is a regular processor is like a coin laying on a table.
Okay.
Heads would be on, tails would be off. It's one or the other, right?
Yeah.
Now, take the coin,
Okay.
put it on in a vacuum, like in space or something,
Okay.
where there's no gravity,
Okay. Yeah.
and then spin it as fast as you can.
Okay.
That's a quantum processor, or a quantum bit, or a qubit.
Just a part of the processor?
Yeah. So that qubit is in a constant state of flux between the on and off state until you measure it. So basically what's happening is, are you familiar with Schrodinger's cat?
Yeah.
Okay. So people that aren't familiar, Schrodinger's cat is a philosophical and theoretical physics example where
Mm-hmm.
a guy puts a cat in a box and leaves it for however long and says that cat is either dead or alive, and
There's no way to know unless you open the box.
there's no way to know until you open it. It's actually both dead and alive until you open it.
Yeah.
Well, a qubit is simulating both probabilities until you open it.
Okay. And what constitutes opening it?
Running it through a filter to measure it. So since it's on like a constant scale, eventually you have to grab that coin that's spinning in space.
Mm-hmm.
And when you grab it, you're going to see heads or tails.
Yeah.
But you don't really know what you're going to get.
Right.
Okay. So that's the best way I can explain how to like visualize how this works. And so let's see.
These processors, quantum processors, are not a thing yet. Not on the main scale yet. Everything we have is ones and zeros still.
Right. You can't go out and buy one. But they are, I mean, they are being made. IBM has multiple of them. Google is invested heavily in them. They bought out a company to basically make their own.
Right, naturally. As Google does.
Yeah. There's a few other independent agencies that do it. The military is very interested,
naturally,
and the government. But
the government's probably had them for 10 years. Now that we're knowing about them.
The government was who commissioned IBM to start the original development.
Oh, okay.
So that IBM's the kind of the originator, and
Mhm.
there's a few minds behind it, but I won't get into all of the politics that started the whole thing. But so basically, when you were talking about that qubit being in that state of flux, it's called a superposition. So it's
And how many
both.
bits are there?
Right now, uh, they're pretty, like, the bits themselves, like the chip
Mhm.
is not that much different looking than a regular chip,
Okay.
but there's only like 20 bits on there.
And it outperforms it.
Well, it depends on what you're using it for.
Okay.
So the since let me give you some maths on why this works the way it does. So um four regular bits
Uh-huh.
will be one of 16 configurations.
Okay.
So they're all going to be all those coins are going to be laying flat on the ground or
Yeah.
flat on the table.
Uh-huh.
And you'll have 16 different options of how those 4 bits can be arranged.
Right.
And it's going to be one of them.
Uh-huh. One of the 16.
Right. 4 qubits are all 16 at the same time. So and this factoring grows exponentially. So
So wait, how many bits are on a normal CPU? Like Intel 7700K? The one that I have in my computer.
Thousands.
Thousands of bits. So like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the pins that go into the motherboard.
Mm-hmm.
Are those them? The bits?
Those are I think those may actually be the gates.
Oh, okay. So the bits are at the ends of them? They're the gold side?
Yeah, they're the gold side. And
Okay.
there's, I mean, like I
it's
said,
just all
they're
over.
so small you can't see them.
Right,
The bits
right.
are, So there's like thousands and thousands of them.
Right.
But
okay.
here's kind of the kicker. Whenever you like push this out or whatever,
Like,
I think it's
mass produce it?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
like if you had a 500 qubit processor,
Mm-hmm.
it would basically create the possibilities for every atom in the visible universe.
Because it's multiple. Because it's all of those positions at the same time.
Right. It's not working linearly. It's working
at such an exponential rate.
Exponentially, yeah.
Oh,
like it's
man.
working exponentially of all possibilities.
Right.
Jeez. So right now, if you like Google a image search of a quantum computer, it looks like it's eerily similar to what the computers of like the 60s look like. They took up a whole room. And the reason that is because these qubits are they're inherently unstable because they are in this flux, this superposition.
Yeah, so they heat up really fast, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask. Since they're spinning quickly, like how would you cool that in a way?
So basically, they build an entire room or an enclosure around it to cool it down to as close as possible to absolute zero.
Right.
And then any kind of like small temperature change, light, sound, anything during the operation of this thing can alter the results. Another reason that this type of computer is not necessarily better than a conventional processor is because say you're running an algorithm and it has the potential to be wrong. It has, because of errors,
Right.
innately built into how, like, the way it works,
Uh-huh.
because it's in this constant cycle, I guess you'd say.
Okay.
So another concept that you kind of have to think about is all of these qubits have an electrical or it's like an electromagnetic field almost.
Okay.
Um, and what it does is it connects, it basically creates a relationship between multiple qubits.
Okay.
So you can infer the values of certain qubits based on at any given time you measure one of them.
Okay. So they
So,
kind of act like a magnet.
yeah, similar to a magnet.
So like if they're next to each other, one's like a positive charge and the other's a negative charge?
Kind of. It's more of a oh, what's the word? Like it's more of a relationship than it is like a polarity.
Okay.
Um but yeah, you could think of it like that.
So they could be the same, they could be different.
Yeah. But they're
They're both at the same time.
they're interconnected in their relationship. So they may be different, but they're likely to always be the opposite of each other, or,
Hmm.
depending on what you're calculating.
Okay. Yeah.
And okay, so now that I've kind of gone through the way over everybody's head, kind of over my head, of the
Explaining it.
the physics of it, like why does it matter, right? Like
Yeah.
why would you want something like this?
Uh-huh.
Because the value in it is it simulates the randomness of nature.
Okay. Because it can be wrong.
Because right, and it could be anything. um all computers right now, they are hard numbers. They're
Mhm.
not
It's not a maybe, it's one or zero.
right. And so with a computer like this, you can basically put something in and it give you the probability of an exponential equation. Like, for example, if I want to cure a disease,
Okay.
and I want to know what elements in nature would mix at certain levels to create a drug
Yeah.
right now
Hmm.
to cure that disease for this specific person.
Okay.
It would take all the information,
Hmm.
because it has all of it,
Yeah.
and all possible variables
Uh-huh.
all at once, and spit out an answer, basically.
Almost instantly.
Almost.
I mean, as quickly as I can open Internet Explorer.
Yeah. So it would basically be able to solve problems that we would take years or millennia to solve ourselves.
Right.
Um,
It wouldn't give us the answer.
no, but you could run the same equation multiple times and get, if you get like a high probability of the same answer, then
Uh-huh.
those errors are gonna eventually work themselves out
Yeah.
statistically. They'll still be there, but statistically, the more, like in science, the more you repeat something, is the more likely it's going to be right.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, and since it replicates nature, uh, and is so good at prediction and things like that, um, we're going to have to fundamentally change all of our technology in the
Really.
near future.
Next 20
Yeah.
years?
More like the next 8.
I was gonna say 4 or 5.
Yeah. uh, it's
Before I
starting
die.
right. Yeah, before we'll get into what happens before you die. The potential, actually, spoiler alert, there could be a potential you don't have to die.
I love it. Let's get to that part.
Okay, so let's finish out
Yeah,
quantum
so
processors real
so
quick.
why are we gonna have to change everything? So like my question is, you said it depends what you're doing that it would be better than a regular CPU. So like why would I have to change my gaming computer to a quantum? Like what would it run Atlas better or PUBG or
No, your regular computer is going to run all those operations better than a quantum computer would.
okay, cuz it's working more on like thought.
Right,
It's not working on
it's running
programs.
scripts. Yeah, your computer that you have now is running a scripted program,
Right.
and the faster that it can run through that script and decode it and put it on your screen is the
Hmm.
best performance you'll get.
Right.
But with a quantum processor, it's like trying to read with 3D glasses on. It's like there's so much going, like it can see so much it doesn't know what to get to.
Uh-huh.
Like it'll be bogged down. And I mean, right now, I think the largest quantum processor we have is only like 50, no, it's 70 something bits, something like that.
So with quantum, there's not cores.
No, it's all one unit. I mean,
So
there
it's
are
one core,
right. It's all
technically.
kind of, yeah. It does have logic gates, but they're really complicated because um they basically it's almost like a logic sphere. So like the logic gate also rotate. It's really weird.
So
Mhm.
the pin rotates. So I looked at
It's
those
not like
pictures.
physically, it's field, I guess you
Okay,
should say. Yeah, yeah.
like the coin.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I kind of get it.
Okay. It's kind of hard to grasp, and without like something to look at, but yeah. Um but the reason I say that we've got to change all of our technology
Emily, we'll
is
get to that
because
later.
I want you to right now
Hmm.
Google something for me.
Okay. Your Google
My,
says
my
yes.
Google went off. So I want you to say how long would it take to decrypt a 256-bit encryption with a regular computer?
Decrypt a what? 250?
Yeah, 256
256
bit.
bit encryption.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeez. Okay, so listen to this. Breaking a symmetric 256-bit key by brute force requires 2 to the 128th power times more computational power than a 128-bit key. 50
Mm-hmm.
supersonic computers that could check a billion 10 to the 18th power AES keys per second, if such a device could ever be made, would, in theory, require about 3 times 10 to the 51 years to
Yeah.
get the password.
So billions of years
Mm-hmm.
with multiple supercomputers.
With things that could check a billion keys per second.
Yeah.
That's 1,000 billion. No, that's a billion billions, chat. I can't
That's a
even
lot.
fathom a billion.
So now Google,
Jeez.
how long would it take to decrypt 256 encryption with a quantum computer?
without any assumptions on the nature of the encryption and possible shortcuts and reductions, scanning a space of size 2 to the 512 takes far, far longer than billions of years. Now it's a common erroneous belief that quantum computers... Wait, what? Where is it? I'm on Quora.
Yeah, that's where I found it too.
Where should I look? If quantum computer can break a 128-bit RSA encryption in 1 second, it only takes maybe a few seconds to break the 256-bit key.
There you go.
Jeez, dude.
So,
Because it's running all of it at the same time.
Right.
Instead of 16 solutions in one core, it's all 16 solutions, and there's 50 of those.
Right.
Or more. Probably more.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So that gives you a kind of a quantity, I guess, like of the ramifications of what this can do. So it can,
and 256 is what our government uses.
Yeah, that's our standard high end. Like, there's no better encryption. I mean, there doesn't have to be. No one's going to be around for billions
of years. So, what is that encryption key?
The AES or whatever.
Sure. So like it's a password.
It's okay. Yeah, all of the passwords that you use, basically have an underlying layer of code, a 256-bit encryption code that blocks what you actually see whenever you go, like when you get into the back end of what's being typed into a website.
Okay.
You'll see that code.
Okay.
But you won't know what the code, that 256-bit code is, unless you know the exact keystrokes to decrypt it. So yeah. So like, okay, if this comes out, obviously it's bad news bears, right?
I mean,
everybody's
gonna
lose all their money in the banks, and
there's no point in having anything in the internet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everything's on the internet.
Everything is available there.
Yeah.
And whoever has a quantum can, if they're malicious with it, can easily take anything.
Right.
Okay.
Which is why the government has petitioned and contracted out the development of the computers to be made here.
Right.
Because I got to thinking about, well, if we can't make an encryption that this thing can't break, like what's the answer? And the answer is, I got to doing some digging. The answer is to make a quantum computer that writes a quantum encryption.
No way.
Yeah.
So quantum beats quantum?
Right, because
it's ever changing or what?
Right, because essentially you can write the same type of encryption for the you basically have to write your encryption based on the beast that you're trying to block out.
Okay.
And you have to know what kind of beast you're working with before you can make a cage. So the best way to do that is, like, if say I had an AI that's smarter than me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to outsmart the AI. I would rather have the AI make the security for me.
Right.
Which is what this is going to do.
Okay.
The quantum, we're going to have to build things, and this is something that's very foreign to most people. In the near future.
Okay.
What's funny is it's already happened back in the 60s and 70s. As soon as we started it's already better than us, but we're going to have to be building more and more things that are better than us at a lot of things.
Okay.
All right. And obviously that gets scary, right?
Yeah, because it's better than us, so we can't stop it sometimes.
Right.